I think, when you look someone in the eyes, the eyes are basically the window of your soul. Uh, and some people, they just have this like kind eyes to them, and you can totally see their essence.
Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. Whether you're searching for the one, you're madly in love, or simply curious about romantic relationships, this podcast is for you. I'm Charlene Byars. Each week, you'll hear from women, couples, and experts, and all the ins and outs on how to create your own love story. I am so passionate about this subject, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Welcome back to the Love Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. Happy new week. I want to talk to you about something that's really been on my mind and actually recently has been my focus. I have an opportunity to talk to lots of women, and the majority of the women that I talk to are single. And what I'm learning and what I'm hearing is that the message that women are receiving from society is actually very disempowering. Because society and social media and all the noise is absolutely keeping women stuck and exhausted. The message women are receiving is exhausting. I truly believe it's the devil's work. Society tells women that we have to do it all, be everything to everyone, and do all the things. But I'm noticing that there are more single women out there than ever, and there are more women hustling than ever. And there are more women operating in their masculine energy than ever. I see it all the time. I see women pushing and pushing to achieve their dreams, and they're absolutely exhausted because they also have to provide and do everything on their own. The true nature of a woman is to receive, and the true nature of a woman is not to be exhausted. Not to have to do all the things like a man, but to be a woman. We have it backwards. Women need to understand that they are the prize. Our feminine energy is a gift, and it's so special, and it's so needed in this world. We are not meant to be alone, and we are not meant to do everything alone. We are women. That alone is a gift. Women absolutely deserve a man who would take care of them and will allow space to be a woman. Men and women need one another. And when a woman has a great partner, a man who absolutely honors them and wants to protect them, everything changes. It allows a woman space to slow down and really tap into the essence of who they really are. It allows women to provide a man something he absolutely longs for. Great men want to take care of women, and they want to provide space for a woman to express and follow her heart. And as a feminine embodiment practitioner, this is part of the work I do with women. I help women come back home to their true nature, to really learn how to operate in their feminine energy and learn how to receive. I work with single women and I work with married women. Our feminine power is our superpower. And if you would like to learn more about stepping into your feminine energy, I would love for you to book a call with me. The link to do that is in the show notes. I'm really looking forward to talking to you. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is know who you are. Okay, ladies. So if I asked you, who are you? What would you say? What answer would you give if I asked you, who are you? Because do you even know who you are? Because here's the deal. If you don't know who you are, you won't know what you want. And that's why you keep wanting the men that you think you like, but aren't good for you. And when you know who you are, you can create. And creation needs clarity. Some of you have started a business and it didn't get off the ground because you weren't clear about something. And some of you want to accomplish things that you haven't accomplished because you're not clear. Creation needs clarity. And in order to create, you have to be clear about who you really are. What is your truth of who you are? What are your core values? For an example, I am a woman of faith and I believe in Jesus Christ. I live my life according to what God wants for me. I am a woman of integrity and I believe in the Holy Spirit. And I believe that we should treat people with love and kindness. And I want my children to know God and live by His word. My core values are to treat people with kindness and respect and treat them the way Jesus did. Clarity is the key to creation. And when you know who you really are, you attract the ideal man for you. I am so excited to welcome my next guest to the show today. Micael Santos is a Brazilian writer, digital creator, and a creative director with passion for sharing life insights rooted in biblical teachings. Through his unique blend of storytelling, creative visuals, and deep biblical understanding, Micael engages his audience with meaningful reflections of faith, personal growth, and the human experience. His content encourages others to embrace a purposeful and spiritual rich life, while his work as a creator-director allows him to bring visionary projects to life in the digital space. I had such a heartful and beautiful conversation with Micael about love, our faith, and the love of God. And through God, anything is possible. God created relationships. God wants us all to have beautiful, loving relationships with the people we love. With no further ado, Micael Santos. Well, hello, Micael. Yay! First of all, thank you for being on today because I know Mr. Michael's all the way in Germany. So it's later, it's later in your time. I think you said it's about 9 o'clock in the evening. So I'm so excited that we were able to make this happen, even though we are so far apart from each other. This is the beauty of the worldwide internet, right? Like this is pretty amazing that I'm going to be able to have a conversation with you and you're literally on the other side of the world. So that's kind of cool.
Outside, yeah.
Yes, thank
It's
you.
forward to hear it.
Thank you, Micael. Thank you for being here. We have a lot to unpack today, and I was really looking forward to this conversation because, when it comes to the matters of the heart and when it comes to love and it comes to relationships, and what I loved about, getting to know you, and I'm going to learn more about you today. I'm so excited. And I love that you are a man of God. And, me being a Christian woman, this conversation was really on my heart, and I was really looking forward to this conversation. So, how about this? So, I want to start out with you. I was thinking about this, and I'm gonna take you a little bit. I'm gonna take you on a little ride here. One of the first things that came to my heart, like I was thinking about, like how I wanted to start this conversation today. I wanted to start by asking you, truly, like, where has God played a part when it comes for you and your journey in the matters of the heart?
In the matters of the heart. So where God played a part in me in the matters of the heart?
Yes.
That's a question.
Thank you.
I would say mostly in how I choose the person to be with, right?
Yes.
Because I think everyone has I had my own definition of, let's say, what love should be,
Okay.
what the right person should look like for me. But every time I went by the way that I thought, it always ended up being, either something bad or, a failed relationship or even like friendships. Not only, we can even bring it to the friendship
Yes.
level, right? Because I think it basically applies to everything. So, once I started to see how love looks from God's perspective,
Yes.
that's when I had this like moment of clarification. Okay, I was like, well, I'm actually looking for the wrong things in people,
That's
and I'm actually putting too much emphasis on things that shouldn't matter that much, right? Because God teaches us to look at love in a way, and then you try to look at it your own way, but at the end of the day, it gets conflicted. So I think God played a part in how I look at people and how I look at love, and the way that God shows Himself and the way that He taught me about love. That was one of the main things I would say. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. So that actually leads me to your next question I want to ask you. Um, so tell me a little bit about how you actually grew up. Where did you grow up? And when you grew up, um, did you have God in your life, or did that come out later, or did things shift for you?
Yeah. So basically, well, I grew up in Brazil, right?
Brazil.
Yeah, I was born in Brazil, but then I moved to Portugal.
Okay.
I was about 11 years old, and then a few years ago, I took this job in Germany. So it was like I had a chance to experience different cultures, which was really good and enriching for me. So I'm thankful for that. But I was born in a Christian family, right?
Okay.
So which, to be honest with you, doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't mean anything because I've seen many people who are not born in Christian family, but they still live this how can I say, right? I don't want to say morally correct life, but
Yeah.
life.
They
Just
lived in
look
the
at it.
flesh, right? They lived in the flesh. They weren't living according to God's plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, then in Brazil, things are totally different from, let's say, Europe and the way.
Okay. What is it like what is it like in Brazil when it comes to, faith and stuff?
Oh, people are very religious,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That's one thing. So I don't want to sound mean or anything,
No,
but
no,
in
we're just
religion,
having a conversation. We're just
yeah,
you're
of
just
course,
yeah,
I know,
you're
I know.
just talking how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I totally understand. But what I mean is um, it's a lot of man-made doctrines, which can sometimes hinder your relationship with God, right? Because God wants to have this like intimate relationship with you, and like through this relationship that once I grew up in Europe, apart from being in Brazil, this relationship that I developed with God also helped me in my relationships as well because it was like an example of how things should be. Uh, but well, in Brazil, you have a lot of freedom.
Okay.
I think it's more easygoing. People tend to be more social.
Okay.
That's also one thing. They're more warm in the way they connect with each other.
Mhm.
In Europe, is a little more like, this is me. If you wanna come to my house, let's make an appointment.
It's like a totally different,
Yeah,
it's a different vibe. So when you grew up then, so you guys moved about when you were 11 years old, right? And did you grow up with, living in the household with a mother and father, or just a mother or just a father? Did you have brothers and sisters? What was that dynamics?
So yeah, I have one younger brother.
Okay.
He's 4 years younger than me,
Mhm.
and also mom and dad as well. So father and mother in this case, and both of them were Christians as well. But my father, he converted to Christianity a little later in his life. My mom, she was born in the church as well.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
a lot what I noticed too, and then let me ask you like your perspective.
yeah.
Often everyone has like a different journey, right? So sometimes I hear a lot of people that yes, they grew up in a Christian household, but they personally, at a young age didn't really practice and didn't really have their own relationship with God. It was there, it was like in the background, but it wasn't something that they had themselves. When it came to your relationship with God, did you feel like when you were growing up, even though, like you said, both of your parents were
Mhm.
Christians, were you really connected to the faith back then, or was it more in like kind of like in the background?
It was, to be honest with you, it was more in the background.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was more in the background, but I always had this like connection to the Bible.
Yes.
So when I was really young, my dad used to take me to his theology classes,
Okay.
which usually no kid usually goes to like theology classes at 5,
Like
7
a
years
very
old.
young age. You're like, yeah, yeah. But your dad's like, here we go.
I was like, okay, well, let's go then. So I used to hear these things, right, about the Bible, and I've always been very curious about the Word of God, like, and finding things about it, and
Mhm.
like you read a verse, and then there's like a mystery behind it, you know,
Yes.
and you can take life lessons from it, basically, like relationship lessons. So this science behind the Bible always was something that interested me, like really a lot, actually. So I had this connection to which is kind of something a bit weird, to have a connection with the Bible, but not directly with God.
Hmm.
But growing up, it was a little like this. Only after I, started living by myself, um, got a little more mature, that I faced
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
relationship with God, and I got to like strengthen it a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah, that really makes sense, because like I said, so that having our relationship with God, the direct relationship, people just come to it at different stages. It's different stages because there you can, like we said, we can grow up in an environment that can be, religious or Christian based and stuff like that. But really where the connection comes is when we have our own individual relationship with
Yes.
God. But that sometimes takes a lot of time. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
that takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of intention and, really wanting to learn more and really understanding, the Bible is a place, so God's telling us about him, it's telling us about who he is and his journey. So I know that, like me personally, I did not grow up in any type of, Christianity or anything like that in my life. My parents kind of dabbled into, they dabbled in kinda like we were, said we were kinda Catholic, but we never went to church, we never read the Bible, we didn't do any of that. So, I really didn't start having my relationship with God until way later, like, way later, and when I had to go about and learn myself. Like, I was seeking it, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, "Okay, I'm seeking it." So, that took me a while. So, let me ask you this, okay, so you grew up, with your mom and your dad, they were Christians, you had a brother, and how did that affect you when, you started, like, dating? Like, how old were you? Were you a young dater or were you an older dater? Like, what was life like for you as a man, as that perspective? Were you
Well, you
I
do
wanna
have
get
like,
married, or you like, "I just want a girlfriend," or you're like, "No, I don't want anything." What was that
well,
like?
you do have the high school crushes, right? I
Yes,
think
yes,
everyone has it. So it's like kind of, it's a bit hard to pinpoint where everything started, but I can say that um I can say that, well, this actually goes back to the initial question that you asked me
okay,
about how God influenced me in how I see love in my
yeah,
relationships. Um it was only it was only a few years ago that I had this, like, almost like this awakening to what, God wants for my life as well,
okay,
in terms of my for my dating life, right? So um I was I was a bit lost in the sense of what I actually wanted as a man, in
okay,
this sense, because nowadays we get all this information from social media, and especially for the men's space, we also have our own type of content, right? What we consume, and we have people telling you how to do things, how you should approach your relationships, and how you should do this, how you should do that. And I think I believe most guys can relate to this as
yeah,
well. And being young, like on your 20s, you're mostly looking to what other guys are doing as well in the digital space. Because if you are, I don't know, on TikTok, on Instagram, whatever, and you have your friends as well around you, so you share this mindset with everyone, right?
mhm,
And it was, with a lot of trial and error that um, God started to guide me to the desire to actually get married and to have something um, serious for my whole life. Because I think most of the time the information that we have on the internet is like, oh, you don't fall in love, don't get yourself too attached to a woman. They will, nowadays it's not worth it. So I think, man, there's like the spirit of disbelief, right? That something like this can happen, but God and Jesus working through your heart, He changes that, because you actually have to believe, right?
Yes.
That there's something in, or there's someone out there for you.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, that's really good. No,
Sorry
you
if I.
did. No, that's really good. That makes such, you know, I talk a lot about, like I kind of said this to you earlier before we started this podcast today. We hear a lot about the messages and, what happens to us women and the messages that we have and, what society says, how we grew up, when it comes to relationships and love and like, us women, we can be on the opposite side too. It could be like, oh, you don't need a man. All men are cheaters, all men are jerks. It's like it's ridiculous.
It's the same.
Yes, and I love that you just that's why I'm doing this, because I love that you are speaking in the sense of like, "Listen, ladies, us men go through the same type of stuff, it's just a little differently, the messaging is differently." And really, it's truly so disempowering for the females, and it's so disempowering for males, because in the end of the day, I really believe with all my heart, I really believe this, the majority of us, I mean, practically, come on, all of us in a sense, really do long for connection, really do long for love, really do long to find, seriously, someone that you can spend the rest of your life with. But it gets confusing because it's kind of like, well, I should be okay by myself. Yes. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't know, like, what should I do? And that's why I love we're having this discussion today, because I believe, and I want to ask you this. I truly believe, and I'm, a relationship coach, and and I help people, date, and I help people with relationships. But I also, my own personal journey, I believe truly with all my heart that relationships were made from God, and He wanted us to, have that type of love and have that connection. And yes, it's not just romantic, it is the relationships we have with the people we love. But when we don't have that, what I say, guidance, and when we don't have that faith, like you said, it can really take us on a path that is confusing, is, not satisfying, and I found myself too, Michael, see, I found myself, as a woman who did not have, um, God or have that faith or didn't realize that relationships are, made from God, like, seriously, that had me also picking the wrong partners, it had me being in relationships that I would say now, I was so always in my flesh, it was always about what I needed, but I didn't understand this. I didn't have that faith. So for
Yeah.
you, when you were, like you said, you started, as a young, you had your crushes in high school, and you were like looking at relationships a little differently. You didn't really know what you wanted. So what ended up happening? How old were you when you had your first real like relationship?
So I was around 18,
18.
19.
Okay.
Well, I would at the time I would consider a real relationship if I would introduce the person to my parents,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So that for me was my standard.
Your
Well,
standard. Okay.
if I introduce it to my parents, then it's something official, because family means a lot to me. And if I'm bringing you to my own home, that means that, well, this is something that I value.
We're serious. You're like, "I'm serious,
Yeah.
girl." Yeah, you're like, "Oh,
So
yeah."
so that was the first time that I actually had a serious relationship, which actually lasted for 2 years, around 2 years and a half. I mean, not compared to a marriage, of course, right? But
Yeah,
that's like nothing. But it was enough time to get to know the person,
okay.
I would say, and learn. And I think in the 2 year mark, you start to see the person who they really are.
Yes.
Well, I'm not married yet, but I believe most couples watching this that have been married for a long time, they can probably attest, either 2 years, 3 years. But there's a point that actually begin to see the person for who they really are. And if you're not, if you don't have like those strong foundations, this is the moment to be tested, right?
Yes.
And you either pass this test and you keep going, and you sacrifice a few things and you keep going, or you give up.
No,
That's like
that's so
the
good. Yes, that is absolutely true. I always believe, and especially when it comes to, again, the matters of the heart and who you pick to be your life partner is truly one of the biggest decisions that you ever make. And I always tell people, I'm like, don't rush it. Because if it's meant for you, it's going to be there. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fine. And I do believe that people need to go through, this is how I do it. It is a 2 years, and I'll tell you why. To really get to know another human being, it's really important that you go through 2 seasons of everything, 2 holidays, 2 big birthdays, 2 this, 2 that. So 2 years will give you a really great perspective on who that person is based on, their actions, based on different scenarios that you guys been through. So there's no need to rush, this. I love that you said that. So you were with this girl for 2 years, and then you realized after 2 years that you guys were not going on the same path? Is that kinda like what happened? Or you were like, "I don't,"
Yeah, so well, just also touch on the point about not rushing.
Mhm.
It's something that I also tell myself quite often, which is you don't want to rush something that you want it to last a lifetime, right?
Correct.
So, and this means not rushing, getting to know the person,
Mhm.
taking your time, and so on. But what happened at the time was, I think, was a lack of maturity, and
Okay.
also differences in values and faith.
Yep.
This is a big one, right? Um, there was a huge difference in value between me and this person, which for me it was the biggest deal breaker, right?
'Kay.
If I believe in God and um, you don't believe in certain things that I believe, then there's a huge imbalance in the relationship. And this is also something that I think people definitely, one thing that you always would like to discuss first is the values. What in theology we have this term called cosmovision.
'Kay.
Cosmovision is basically how you see the world, right? The reality, universe. If you believe in aliens, if you believe in God, everything, right?
Right,
So
right.
of course you're not going to approach the person in this theological aspect of what is your cosmovision, but it's nice to talk about those fundamental values and what the person believes, because let's say you don't, and then years pass, you have children, and then you start to differentiate in how you want to educate your children, and then you start to face like these challenges in the relationship, which can be, then it's too late. You didn't.
No, you're so spot on. Yes, no, you're spot on because I love that you're saying that because what you're saying is the reason why you shouldn't rush and you should actually get to know someone and in the beginning start finding out like so you don't waste time, really start finding out what their values are because a lot of people get confused. I'm going to say something to you. A lot of people get confused when it comes to compatibility and when it comes to true connection and values, right? Because and chemistry. So let's throw that in. Because you can have chemistry, Michael, with someone, but you not necessarily have compatibility. You can have chemistry with someone, but you not necessarily have the same values, the same goals. And I love that you're saying that because if you don't have the same values. You don't have it's not like you have to be the same. No, 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 you can have differences, right? You can have di of course, men and women can have differences, 100%. One can like this, one cannot like that. That's all good, that's okay. But we're talking the core values, which you just said are your faith, is, what do they believe about, like, how are you gonna raise your children? What kind of home are we gonna have? What type of environment are we gonna have? That's
Exactly.
huge. Yes, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
so
and I no, and I do believe that values can create chemistry, but chemistry cannot create values. I think so. You can be. I think it's more important to be with someone who you have. Let's say you really have the same values,
mhm,
because chemistry comes and goes.
yes,
I think so. You are in love with your partner today, and everything is so well going smooth. When the next week you have a disagreement, and then you're like, oh, actually, I hate you for a week, but then it comes back again. So you have this like roller coaster of going up
That's
and downs.
yes,
But values,
yes.
so values, they are principles, and principles, they're like, like the foundations of who you are, and usually that doesn't change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't change. That's totally true. So then
Yeah.
after that relationship ended, okay, so you had this 2-year relationship with people or the lady. Where was your mindset then? Were you still like, okay, I'm gonna take some time, or no, I'm ready to continue on dating? What was your dating life like? Being a man and especially in this culture and how things change. How was that like for you?
Well, I was in the middle of, should I focus on my career?
Okay.
Something that I was like, well, if I want to grow professionally as well, I have to dedicate myself full time to this. And let's say, I don't want to say waste time, because it's never
No,
wastage of
no,
time.
yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. So, um, but part of me was also, well, looking back now, I can see things from a different perspective,
Yeah.
which, you have a different mindset a few years later, almost 10 years later. But looking back, usually you wanna, after you end up a relationship, you wanna basically heal yourself with the next one as soon as possible, right? But you didn't allow yourself, enough time to like settle and heal yourself. So you end up going to the next relationship, which was what I did, with problems as the last one.
Yeah.
And
You took the same
you know,
pattern, right, Michael? You're
uh,
like, "Okay, here I
right.
go." That's what we talk about. We're like, relationship patterns, if we don't take some time. Yeah, okay. So then you jump right to the next one. Yeah, I got you. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then what's funny is, I'm not a believer of the law of attraction, in the sense that you're like, okay, I'm gonna meditate on this and a car will pop up my front door next morning. But I do believe the person you are at the moment and what is going on in your life, you really attract someone who's in the same, you know, in the same level of life as you.
Yes, yes.
And at the time, it was always the same thing. If I was not healed from a relationship, I would only meet people who was not healed from their relationships as well.
That's really
So it
good.
would be this like
Well, Mike,
double.
let's say that again. That's really good you're saying that because I think all of us can relate to this. And what you're saying, I want you to say this again, right? So what you're saying is if you don't take some time after a relationship that didn't work out, right? Because not every relationship is going to be your forever. That's why we get to know different people. That's why we get to, like, see in time if that person is in true alignment. But usually, what we do, and hi, me too. Usually, what we do is we go from one relationship to another, and we don't take that time to figure out, okay, where did I go wrong here? What was my mindset that, I allowed, that was with this person or I allowed this person. So when we don't do that, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, how that really affects us.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, well, I like to believe that in order for to be two, so as a couple, you have to be one, like in yourself, right?
Yes.
You have to be fully one. And sometimes you see relationships that are like in 1.7, 1.5. You have one person who's fully one, but then you have another person who's like not fully, healed yet, or they're still like dealing with past traumas in their past relationships. So, and actually, since I moved to Germany, this was actually the time that especially during COVID, that I got to be, when I moved, I had the idea to stay here only for a year. So I rented this really small apartment. It was like 19 square meters or something. And I don't know how much that is in foot, but it was quite small.
Okay.
So I had the for the first time in my life, I had the chance to be by myself, with my own thoughts, with God, praying, and couldn't go out, couldn't socialize, couldn't do anything during COVID, which I believe,
Yeah,
we all
yeah, we all
experienced.
experience that. Yes,
We all experienced.
yes.
And that was the moment that, I had, for the first time in my life, the chance to sit down and think and, be by myself and, look back into the things that I experienced in life. And, this was like it's not good because it's painful.
Yeah.
You know, it's painful to go through these things, especially being by yourself, like in a country that you don't know. But it was necessary,
Mhm.
um, to heal, to be away from people, to have a moment for yourself, to detach a little bit. Detaching is nice as well
Yes,
sometimes.
because it gives you an opportunity to
Yeah,
really, like, slow it down and really see where we are always the common denominator in anything in our lives, right? Like, right? Like, in knowing, like, okay, what is it that has been going on with me? What is it? What I'm sure all the questions. What am I really looking for? Like, what am I looking for? Am I chasing the wind or am I chasing God? Like, what am I doing? Right? Like, what am I doing? And how that really does play a part in our romantic relationships and what we do attracts in the relationships that we had. So after you did this reflection and after you had this time for yourself, what were you noticing when you were a single man, when it comes to dating, and what were you attracted to, and what was presenting to you when it came to women? Because I want women to hear this, because a lot of times, Michael, they're like, okay, Charlene, like, men are different now too. Men are not approaching, men are not taking the lead. This is what I hear. I hear that men are not taking the lead. They're not approaching. They're not pushing the dating dynamics forward.
yeah, yeah.
What's going on?
Well, we've been told, for the past decade, I think, that we shouldn't do these things.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like in most guys' mind that if you approach a girl, it's something that she wouldn't like. Well, I think also this comes um, from guys that, usually, um, who are not really in touch with themselves.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is, once you once and that once you know who you are
Mhm.
and you have your foundations as a man, I think first of all you will know who you want for yourself, right? So if you see someone that you really find attractive, I don't know, uh, somewhere in the grocery store, I don't know the locations that people usually go, but
The gym.
the gym, well,
Yeah.
the gym, yeah, but I think it's more about you knowing what you want for your life, and if you see the type of person that you like, and if you see someone who reflects those characteristics, right? Because I think the first thing that you see, it's the physical aspect
Yes,
of it.
of course. Yes.
You can judge a whole person's life by by one look in the
Right.
street or something like
Yeah.
that. And well, going back to the first thing that you said about men taking the lead, um it's almost as seen as, being a provider in today's society. It's something wrong. Well, in for most people, I would say. Um, I think it's something that men naturally like to lead.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
But it's something that gives us, how can I say, identity, even,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Uh, it's something that fulfills us as human beings. I think it's something natural to us. But I would say that most girls that I've met in my life, they probably didn't have a good example in their homes growing up, right? Either from a father, from a past relationship, maybe even earlier in their lives. So they basically assume that, all men um, act this way. So they close themselves for being approached, because as a guy you can definitely tell, like, looking at a woman, if she's approachable or not.
That's good.
You-
I like that. I like that you talked about that. So you're saying to me, okay, so you're saying a lot of times now that women, and I talk about this, Michael. This is so good. That women are not being approachable, right? They're more closed off, right? They're closed off. They're not allowing that openness, or what I always tell women, I'm like, listen, all you need to do is, if you are like, if you see a guy, you don't have to go ask him out. No, 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 no. But if you see a guy that you're attracted to, you know what you need to do? Smile. Like, seriously, I'm like, girl,
Look,
it's not that
it's
hard.
easy as it is to give a candy to a kid. Just a smile is enough for a guy.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes I see these videos online of like, it's like usually memes of a girl walking past a guy and she's basically has like a straight face and she says, "Oh, I just shoot my shot to this guy." She basically didn't. She just looked at him. So I think, well, going back to what we were saying, which is, you can definitely feel if a girl is approachable by the body language,
Okay.
the usually the facial expression as well.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and it's okay to be open for someone that you think it's a potential partner as well. I think
Yes.
I think you should close yourself. You should um, give this chance to life. It's even going broader, just giving you a chance to be impressed. I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, that's beautiful because it has to go both ways. And like you being, like you said, so if society has been saying to the men, a certain message, and then society is telling us women a certain message, but really what's happening is it's actually not working. Because,
Yeah.
again, we are not having and of course, there are a lot of us, yes, that have great relationships, beautiful, that's the ultimate goal. But when it comes to the majority again, we are not having those type of relationships because we are so blocked and we're so into like this well, women are not approachable, well, men are not approaching, all of this. And really when it comes down to it, it's really taking responsibility for yourself. So if you're a man and you're listening this right now, look what we're just saying right now. If you are out there and you're looking to date, right? You know, be open also to the women that are giving you a little bit of that smile. If a woman is smiling at you and you're attracted to the woman, it is truly, guys, please, I'm asking you, go say hello to her. I mean, because she's giving you opportunity. But I totally understand it, Michael. Like if a man is attracted to a woman and the woman is like closed and she has that serious face,
Yeah.
why he's not gonna go talk to her.
Yeah. I mean, you can. I think also this goes for guys as well,
Yeah,
right? So it's also the way you approach. There's many ways of saying this. There's many ways and expressions of saying the same thing, right?
yeah, yeah,
I think it's so, like, for a guy, it's okay if you're nervous. Like, it's
yes.
okay if you approach from uh, even if you're shaking. Like, it's okay as long as you don't make it in a creep way. I think it's totally fine. No, I
It's
think
enduring,
most
yeah,
guys are
it's natural, right? Like, if he's a little nervous, it's actually it's very sweet.
yeah, it shows courage. It shows that this
Yes,
guy knows himself and he's actually taking risks. Um, and it's also like a way of showing. I mean, subconsciously, you're showing a very vulnerable side of yourself, which I think women value from men when they show vulnerability as well. So it's the way this goes more for guys, but it's the way you approach, right? And what you say. You don't have to have this, premeditated phrase in your mind that you think is gonna go perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Just it's usually take your chance. Of course, hope for the best. And for the other side, I think, be open and listen. Like, what am I gonna lose just to listen to what this guy has to say to
Yeah,
me?
exactly.
Like, really, I might lose 1 minute from my day. And the worst thing that it can happen, he says something out of pocket, and okay, bye. I have a story to tell my friends later. That's it.
Yes,
So
that's it. You're like, "Okay, ladies, you know what? I give the guy an opportunity. If he's coming up to you, come on, even if he's not your type, even if he's, maybe something, a guy you're not attracted to, be kind." You know what I mean? Because the guy, like, I love that you said it takes courage. It really takes courage to go out of nowhere and honestly and approach a woman. I mean, that
from
is
both sides.
huh?
Yeah.
Both sides.
From
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
from both sides. Yeah.
Yes. So for you then, okay, so after you were, you've been dating now and stuff, um, what has it been like for you? Because are you I know that you said to me you're not married, right? You haven't been married yet.
And no, I haven't
And
been
but
yet.
is that something that you've been truly looking for? You've been looking for to connect with your wife?
Yes. Well, God has taken care of that
Yeah.
already.
Oh,
Um, but but it's at a point that I think it's well, what I can say is I can tell you what I learned from this process that I've been going through,
okay.
which is you should be with someone who believes in love, not just a relationship. And
Mm.
what I mean by this is
Yes. Talk about that.
most people that you will meet, they will only believe in the relationship part, which is the the mechanical, logical part of it. Things should be this way. You should take the trash out, blah blah blah. But most of people, it's really hard to meet someone who actually believes in love, which is the sacrificial part of it, the emotions. And I had the luck. Well, God had me favored to actually meet someone who actually believes in love, has this great concept that God has shown us. And I think it's really rare to meet someone like that. And I think this is a mindset that you can achieve if you pray, and if you go within yourself, um and you want it. But yeah, someone who believes in love, not just a relationship, because the relationship being the logical, the mechanical part of it. So all the stuff we have to go on dates, we have to do this, blah, 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 all those things, they are what's required. But love itself is something that goes a little um, even deeper than what you see on a daily basis, has in a relationship.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful because love is a choice that we get to, yes, that we get to decide to continue on loving that person because we believe in love and loving that person even when things don't go the way we want to go, right? And it's yes, and loving that person truly. Like, I don't know, this just came up right now. This just literally just came up in my head. I got to say something to you. I don't know why people change their vows. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the traditional vows to me are so powerful, are so
Yes,
powerful. I'm like, why are we changing these vows? Because and I know people want to like listen. I just want to say something. I know, it's nice to, try to personalize it and and I love you for this, I love you for that. But really, what are we doing? Love,
yeah.
love is a true choice, true commitment in sickness and in health, in good and bad, because any of us, like seriously, any of us can say, be fine when things are fine, right? Like that's easy. That's easy. That's the interaction. Well, if you do this, I'm happy, or you do this, intersection. But man, where does love really come and play a part when things are not fine? So I
Oh,
love that you said that.
it's a choice. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a choice.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it, because that's it basically sums up to being a choice, right? And if things are not going well, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to look at the relationship just as, this relationship is bad, or you're going to choose to look at well, I'm going to love this person even if, things are not going that great in the relationship at the moment.
Yes.
And this again goes back to First Corinthians 13,
Mhm.
that talks about love, which is love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it's not proud, etc. So Paul gives a list of what love is. It doesn't mean that you are gonna be how can I say, you're gonna have all these virtues within yourself 24/7. But once you choose love, you're basically choosing patience. You're basically
Yes.
choosing kindness. You're basically choosing to not be envy, to not be proud. So
Gentleness.
it's a
Yes.
choice to not be these things, because we are natural. I like to think that people are so we usually forget that we can be worse than we can imagine, right? So most of the times, I think you should definitely choose to be these things, because I think most of the times you are not naturally um which is all these virtues that the Bible talks about of what love is. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, because it does. It really talks about like, you know, what is love? What is, really the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which is all those things that you just talked about: love, patience, gentleness, kindness, all of that. And when we really look at love in that way, it changes everything.
Yep.
Let me
It
ask you
changes
this.
everything.
Let me ask you this. So, what is some advice that you would like to say for the listeners that are single, the women that are single and they're looking for love and they truly want a really great guy, Michael. They want a good man that, they can share their life with, but they haven't had the best of luck. Okay. So they're like, I haven't had the best of luck, but I know that love is still out there. What advice would you give women during this time while they're single? And how to, take care of themselves during this time, or whatever advice you wanna give them when it comes to, finding their partner.
Well, I would say that um, have faith. You know,
Yes,
I think it can sound a little too simplistic, but
I love
it's
that.
uh, it's what worked for me. I would
Okay,
say so. Um, because there is a time that you are single that you start to believe that I'm not worthy of a relationship,
okay.
or I think this is not for me. You know, I think I will never meet someone who will, meet all my needs, someone who will, connect with me on this emotional level. And it's so easy to fall into despair during this season of like being single.
Okay, that's good.
You
Mhm.
you basically go into like a spiral of like basically, you start to disbelieve in this whole concept of a relationship. And then what you do, or what most people do, what I did as well, you turn back to your work and you start to work a lot and you start to outsource this like achievement of love and being fulfilled to your work and to material achievements. And then when you stop to look at yourself, you got way past this window that God and life opened for you to wait and hope for, but you wasted all this time focusing on other things. So I think it's like having faith, but it's not like this faith of not doing nothing, right? It's also being active, of being open to life and what God has for you as well. And yeah, I would say faith and also being open um, to what life brings to you and not shutting down these options so quickly,
Yes.
even if it's not even if it does not look perfect for you in the moment. Sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, most of the times, it will not look like the thing that you so dreamed for, because
Right.
God.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's like the expectations, right? The expectation of what it should
So
look like.
exactly. So I had in my mind all these like expectations of how God would show and bring this person to me.
Okay.
I was like, God, I want you to confirm in this way. God, I want you to bring this person in this manner here. I want this type of confirmation. And I was basically dictating God and life how things should be. And
Oh.
I was not giving the opportunity to life and God to reveal itself, because usually we forget that there's another person at the end of this whole situation that also has their own expectations and of how things should be for them, right? And how on earth these two things will match? This is only like in
Yeah, yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah, yeah.
Let's be completely honest. This is not a movie.
Yes.
So be realistic, and being realistic doesn't mean that it will not be like a romantic or even like a fairy tale. Like,
Yeah.
it does not mean that. It might look cinematic, it might look beautiful, but it will just not look the way you imagine to be. So you have to allow things to develop. If you don't allow things to develop, I mean, there's so many trees that started from a seed this small, right? Like, how can you dictate, how this thing was not gonna grow if you didn't water it and you didn't let it grow? So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. How are you now? I know that you are in a relationship now. And, like you said, you feel grateful that, that it came differently than you thought it would come, and you found someone that truly, it seems like you really actually had faith because you found someone that also, like you said, believes in love and not just the relationship. They believe in all of it, right? Um, how is that relationship, Michael? What do you love about her, Michael? So women can hear another man talk about his woman. What is, I know you're probably like,
Well,
"There's so much," but what is it about this woman that just lights you up?
I like that she's authentic,
Okay.
you know, to herself. Yeah. Um, how can I say this? Sometimes you meet someone that you feel like they are, putting their best version
Mhm.
in the beginning of things.
Yes.
And I think what I like about her is that, from the beginning, we could see each other for who we really are.
That's beautiful.
And this was something that, it was, in a way, I think, um, how can I put this? It was realistic. It was not something that, it left me wondering how things would look like in the future. It basically showed me there. And she's a very kind person as well.
Oh, I love that.
I can see that, yeah.
Oh,
So I think if you're looking for, the mother of your children, I think it's something that you definitely should, put on your list. Someone who's kind. And I've always told God, which I mean, not told. I always, talked to God about this, which
yes,
is, I think, when you look someone in the eyes, the eyes are basically the window of your soul. Uh, and some people, they just have this like kind eyes to them, and you can totally see their essence, in it. And I don't want this to sound too cheesy or anything,
no,
but that's
no cheesy, Michael. Do it, do it, do it.
I mean, honest, but that's definitely something that you look, well, that I look in her eyes, and I can see that through her eyes. So, this kindness and this, peace that comes with it. So, yeah, I think, every guy has a different, checklist that they want, in a woman. And you shouldn't expect that God will bring someone who will check all of them. But I think God will definitely bring someone who will check the essentials, the things that you really need.
That's beautiful.
And yep. So yeah.
I love that. And ladies, look at how, oh my God, you should see him if you're watching this on on YouTube, because you can actually be hearing this podcast or you can be watching it. But if you're hearing it, he just lit up. Like it was so like his face lit up when he said, you can tell the kindness when you look through somebody's eyes. And that
Yes.
actually like can go for any of us. So if you are a single woman, seriously, that's really important that he actually just said that. There is something when you are able to truly, stare into somebody's eyes. What do you see? Do you see kindness? Do you see like, oh no, 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 no. Am I in trouble? You know what I mean? Like, what do you see? Because that makes such a big difference. Oh, that's beautiful. I wish, let me ask you something. Like, if I know we're gonna speak for her because she's what's her name? What is her name?
Mikala.
Mikala, okay, so she's not here right now, but what would you think if we asked her, and you can ask her later on, okay? Maybe you could tell me too. What would you think if we asked her, what is it that she loves about you? What has she told you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm. Yeah.
Uh, that's a good question. I would say, that something that you mentioned
Yeah,
before,
what'd she say? What'd she say?
quite often, which is that, um, well, I might be misquoting her.
It's okay, it's okay,
Uh,
it's okay. This is a little, we're having a little fun here. We're having a little fun. And then you can ask her after this podcast, you can say, okay, Charlene asked me a question and this is what I said. Tell me if I was right or wrong. Okay.
no, I would say my relationship with God and Jesus.
I love that.
I would say that, yeah, because I think, we have at least in Christianity, we have this traditional view of like how the family structure should be, right? So you have Jesus, you have the husband, the wife, and the kids. So it's basically the the man submits to God,
Mm-hmm.
and the woman submits to the man, the children submits to the parents, basically, this relationship. And if you're willing to follow that structure that God placed it for us, you want to be with someone that actually is submitting. So the man submitting to God
Yes.
and having a good relationship with God. And I think if you know that someone is following those things, you are basically under a good protection.
Yes.
You're basically with someone who's not going to be using this, let's say, authority that God gave you as a man for your good and not for the harm of the family and also for the harm of the woman itself.
Yes.
So the indicator, I think, for most girls would be, what is this guy's relationship with God like? Because this will definitely reflect the relationship that he will have with you, with your children, with your, everyone around you. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Let me tell you something. I truly believe, as a woman, one of the things that I admire the most, and it wasn't always like this in my marriage with my husband now, but what I
Um,
admire the most is that my husband's love for God, I know that that comes above anything, and I always feel safe because if my husband is putting God first, then I know that we're gonna be okay because
yeah.
he's not leading his life based on him being God, based on what he thinks right in his own eyes, and I don't wanna follow a man that makes up his own rules and thinks, no, 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 I don't wanna follow a man that makes up his own rules. I want a man that also has guidance and has fear of God and is a God-fearing man because I know if that's the case, then he's gonna lead me in a way that is going to be very protective. And I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying we know, but none of that stuff. But I'm saying that, when we have that foundation, when I know in the end of the day, when things are tough, when things are hard, we don't go by, like you said earlier, we don't just go by, what we're feeling. No, we go by, okay, what is love? What is God? What would he want us to do in here? And that, as a woman, makes me feel really safe.
Yes, I mean, exactly, because he's not perfect.
Nope.
That
And he makes
he
mistakes.
Yeah, that's the one of the main reasons, right? Because we are not perfect, especially,
No.
I'm speaking from a man's perspective,
Yes.
that you as a woman should have this indicator of the guy. So if how is the relationship of that he has with God, right?
Yes.
Because there's going to be a lot of times that he will not be perfect to you.
Mhm.
If you have the Holy Spirit in your life, you will have this conviction inside of your mind
Yes. Yes.
telling you, yeah, you have this conviction inside of your mind. And this happened to me so many times
Yes.
that I'm about to say something, I'm about to write something, a text message, it can be anything, but God speaks to me and he said, no, you might want to change that.
Yes.
You might want to change your words, how you
Yes.
speak here.
No, that's
So,
beautiful. Oh, yes. I'm telling you, like, everything shifted when, in our marriage, like, things just shifted in the most beautiful way, when we truly started putting, God as the center of our life. God is the
yeah.
center of everything. Oh my goodness, this has been amazing. Michael, oh my goodness. Thank you for this beautiful I felt like we had such a beautiful conversation today, and, I got so much out of this conversation. I just wanna say thank you for this. I love I kinda feel like we can keep talking, to be honest with you, like, we can keep going on forever. I know, I know, I know. We're like, time goes by so fast. But seriously, I love that, what you shared today, and I love that you are such a man of God. And how can people get into your world? What do you do? How do you like where can they find you?
Well, on Instagram, and I also have a newsletter that I send every week. It's on my website, micaelsantos.com or michaelsantos.com. And I basically, I write about faith, life, relationships sometimes as well. So you get a newsletter in your inbox every week. And I also um, do content creation on Instagram as well, reels, all that good stuff. So yeah.
And what's your handle?
Um,
Your
it
Instagram handle.
so it's MICAEL A-L, so Michael, but it's in Portuguese we say Micael, so Mical, and then SVNTOS.
Beautiful. And you guys, we're going to leave his handle here on the show notes so you can just grab it from there. And definitely get in his world. He is truly, I mean, just a beautiful soul. Thank you. And the most, I mean, he shares the most beautiful stuff about God and relationship. Like I just love your content. It's amazing. Thank you. It's a fabulous. Yes, thank you. So I just want to say thank you again for being on today. You know, maybe we'll have you back and we can continue this conversation about relationships and love and God. But is there anything that you want to say, you know, while we end the conversation right now? Is there anything else that you want to share?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for having me here as well. And I think what you're doing here is very important,
Thank you.
especially giving women this guidance, especially coming from, this good source, which is God and, the Bible and Christian-based ideas, because, so many things that we have nowadays online that go completely different from what people should hear. So yeah, work relations as well on your work, which is very much needed as well
Oh, thank
nowadays.
you. Yes, I do. I believe in this with all my heart. I believe in great relationships. I believe that we're going to, you know, we got to stop the noise out there and we got to get back honestly to the basics and to our heart and to love. Yeah.
Slowly, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to keep having these conversations. All right, Michael, thank you so much. Until next time, cheers to great love.
Cheers.
That's a wrap. This was such a beautiful conversation I had with Michael. I love how he talked about how men also go through their own challenges and the message that they receive that can be so disempowering, and how women sometimes don't see what men go through with the challenges they face, especially when the courage it takes to approach a woman. And how important it is for all of us, men and women, to take responsibility for how we're showing up and know who we are and what our core values are. It's important that we take time to know that love is a choice. Love is something that we get to choose every day. We get to choose who we want to love for the rest of our lives, through sickness and in health, in good times and in bad. And when we center our love through the eyes of God with our faith, we attract a person who also believes in something greater than themselves, who believes in the love and chooses love. And we embody the true nature of God's love, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's where great love can truly blossom. That kind of love is available for all of us. We just need to believe in it. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode, because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.